Hello, welcome back, and in today's video I thought I would address the question of whether or not I consider myself to be a heretic, especially since posting some videos where I ramble on about whether or not I should return to the Catholic Church or convert to Orthodox Christianity, embrace Gnosticism, whatever it is. A lot of people will accuse me of being a heretic, which is quite an accusation. Now, on paper, I am a heretic. I admit that. I don't follow the strict doctrine of the church, and maybe by making videos about, questioning whether I should embrace Gnosticism. Now, in the video where I talked about that, I was saying I shouldn't. But that didn't stop people telling other people not to listen to me, to call me a heretic, which makes me feel very dangerous. Like, this is a dangerous person you're looking at in this video, which I don't feel like I'm that dangerous. Maybe I'm thinking out loud and maybe that's a problem. I was actually getting grilled by this Christian woman a few weeks ago who I think she was trying to convert me to Christianity. I hadn't told her that I grew up as a Roman Catholic at this point. And she started using some logical arguments to try and get me to realize what a fool I was. And look, I have very low intellect. If you look at the Big Five personality test, I have very low intellect and high aesthetics in terms of my the way I think. So I can understand why maybe it's my lack of logic that prevents me from becoming a full-on Christian. But I still was surprised by how poorly she was selling the idea of Christianity. Like, it was all like she was basically saying, if there's a heaven and a hell, obviously don't you want to go to heaven over hell? And I was like, I guess so, I don't know. And then she was a bit annoyed at that answer. She's like, do you consider yourself to be a good person? I thought, yeah, I do, which really upset her. And she's like, oh, so have you never sinned? And I was like, yeah, I've sinned, but I forgive myself. And she's like, yeah, well, in a court of law, you don't get to say that. If you've done a crime, you get punished for that crime. And that's the same as with God. But of course the problem is, which religion is she referring to? Which denomination of Christianity is she referring to? It gets very confusing, and what if Christianity is not the right religion? Now, I know these things I'm saying are very basic, and people, especially Christians, have always said to me, are you serious? That's how Catholics especially used to get kind of annoyed. There is an argument, I suppose, to become a trad cath in today's society, especially when there is such a meaning crisis that you can see the good effects of the fall of religion, but you can see the bad effects as well. And I think one thing that gets people upset is this idea of an inner conscience. And some Christian people will say that's a good thing to have. And then people like that woman I was talking about say you've got no right to base your morals on your own internal convictions, which is very difficult for me because I'm an INFP personality type in the Myers-Briggs system, which is, slightly satanic, I suppose you would argue. And while there's some religious people who really think that that's a valuable voice inside you that you should listen to, there's others that obviously think that's a satanic voice. So that's where I don't know, it wasn't really selling the Christian message towards me at all. And she had such cold, mean eyes. But I always wonder that with Christians, so many people who are Christian look at me as the enemy because I'm, unmarried. If you don't have a stable job, you're a bad Christian. If you don't have money, you're a bad Christian. Now, I know a lot of Christians don't think that way. And I do feel like a bit of a cultural Catholic, maybe not a cultural Christian, but I like the pagan side of Catholicism and the openness and the universal aspect of being a Catholic, hence the name Catholic. I'm not sure about becoming a trad cath, which is much more of a sort of new conservative movement, I think, which is very, anti-woke or whatever. Not that I'm pro-woke, but I don't want to become a trad cath. Or I don't want to become like someone who's one of those women on TikTok who says they've become a trad cath and then they start dressing like it's the 1940s, and having their bosoms showing. I think you know what I'm talking about when I say that. But at any rate, to get back on track, am I a heretic? Yes, I'm clearly a heretic. I've danced on the grave of Moses in Japan. I've prayed at Shinto shrines. I've gone to bat mitzvahs. I've prayed in Orthodox churches, and I don't believe in God. I'm a heretic for sure, and I like the dangerous label. And I feel like it's better to be a heretic than to be, I don't know, a modern person. I'm still a member of the old world. That's what I'm trying to say here. And I guess that's what I like about the word heretic. It sounds like you're from the old world. I love the idea of becoming a Gnostic Christian or becoming just joining a cult, I suppose, or starting a cult. I guess that's a topic for another day. But I guess overall, I wonder what's going on with this YouTube channel. I mean, it started off as a YouTube channel about living in Japan, and then I don't know what it became. I mean, I made some videos about visiting the grave of Jesus in Japan. And then I guess I always wondered whether it would be a good idea to make videos exploring conspiracy, history, culture, and religion. And it just seems so easy to talk about religion because it's an interesting topic, I guess, that's really influenced the world in so many ways. And I also like how you can have arguments about different faiths of Christianity, and people get all riled up in the same way that in the modern world, people usually do that about political things and the polarization of political parties and so on. But in the past, you might actually put more of your effort into expressing that anger and hatred towards other Christians. So if you're a Catholic, you hate Protestants more than anyone in the world. Whereas today it's more like, the right versus the left. And that's why you get these really bizarre things happening, like atheists like Jordan Peterson talking about religion and being very in favor of religion, while at the same time being anti-God, even though he won't admit it. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you a heretic? Am I a heretic? Is it good to be a heretic in today's world? Or is it still kind of a bad thing? Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll let you go and see you next time.